25 Eylül 2024 Bayraktar Kızıl Elma Prototip 3 üretim prototipi bugün ilk uçuşunu başarıyla gerçekleştirdi. Kısa bir test uçuşu oldu. Bundan sonra testlerimiz devam edecek. Vatanımıza, milletimize hayırlı uğurlu olsun.
With the concurrent push to Turkey's military prowess comes along Baykar, one of the more predominant national defense organizations. Behind the production of state-of-the-art unmanned drones for both reconnaissance as well as taking part in more aggressive tactics. These drones are primarily for zone control, as well as for eliminating posed threats to the civilian population. The main pushing force for Turkey's national defense is said to be due to the mass gap of national security, as many of the nation's defense has primarily been provided by international parties. Through this strategy, it showcases more independence for the state, as the device's codes will not be held by alternative countries. The Baykar aerial vehicles operate with real-time imagery, which broadcasts and automatically stores with secured passwords, which are produced every 30 minutes. These images are generally transmitted to tablets, as well as the ground control station, which allows for more remote control by relevant parties. Trials have been conducted using a laser guidance feature for a small bomb, as well as having trials with the incorporation of infrared imaging. This is primarily to target opposing troops through cloud cover. Through demonstrations of Baykar's technology came a high influx of investments, surging to $1.9 billion. This is primarily due to the international recognition, as it has been partaking in defense strategies through states that have been under threat, such as supplying for the war in Ukraine. Due to the peaked international interest, there has been country figureheads visiting the production plant of Baykar's aerial infrastructure, such as Indonesia's Air Force Chief of Staff. Among the top purchasers of the UAV is Croatia, as the Associated Defense Minister began securing a deal with Baykar CEO Haluk Bayraktar, which has been stated to make use of the aerial vehicles by 2025. Although the device has primarily been seen as a military-based product, there are also alternative measures that have been taking place, such as assisting those in civil issues, whether that be fighting against forest fires or even taking part in search and rescue operations, showcasing a mass focus on aiding civilians as a whole. Among the more exciting headlines in correlation with the UAV is the push for their very own jet engines, in which there has been an increased investment of $300 million. This in turn works alongside a more autonomous focus for the aircraft, negating the need for fighter jets and instead solely relying on the UAVs themselves. Throughout the infancy of the project, there has been much skepticism and wonder of how there is a possibility of a plane that would be able to operate without a pilot. The curiosity surrounding the project had individuals wanting to understand how the mechanisms worked behind the scenes. Before the UAV was given the name Bayraktar, it was first labelled across newspapers and personnel as the Heron, an unmanned aerial vehicle. The Heron was produced in the early days of the company and had undisclosed operations such as secretly taking test flights without jurisdiction. However, after some trials and improvements, a military commander by the name of Ergun Pasha had a conversation with the team, ordering them to fly the vehicle, going against past rejections. With Turkey's progression of weaponized tech comes an all-out offensive on Daesh terrorists by pushing beyond the borders of Turkey and into Daesh territory, reclaiming occupied cities and strongholds. Throughout Operation Euphrates Shield, there was a heavy reliance on Turkey's air force, as the sector began focusing on aerial bombardment of zones occupied by Daesh forces. Operation Olive Branch began with the purpose of removing Daesh threat from Turkish borders. There was an entrance that Turkish armed forces focused on, comprising of soldiers and tanks, in which was met with terrorist groups firing rockets. Through the exchange of conflict between the Turkish armed forces and the PKK opposition, there had been heavy casualties of civilians. This push was primarily to secure northern Syrian land, especially the city of Afrin. The primary driving force of the operation has been due to the heavy mortar fire targeted to the city of Kilis on Turkey's border. Among the measures taken by the opposition is the fact that the Daesh have been recruiting civilians and youth in order to fight for their cause, An undisclosed source has also stated that further instructions were given to the Yazidi group to strap bombs on themselves for self-destruction. However, regardless of this instruction, the Yazidis rejected this idea of fighting. The expansion of Turkey's border has also begun increasing the amount of medical facilities in order to aid those affected by the cross-border conflict. Beginning on October 9th, 2019, we have a military faction formed between Turkey and the Syrian National Army, with the intent of creating a safe zone within the northern districts of Syria. This main motive of the operation was to clear out areas controlled by terrorist forces, such as the PKK and Daesh threats. The event took place once Turkish and US diplomats came to an agreement that US troops cease their presence within affected areas. This was primarily due to the cooperation taking place between the US and terrorist group. Among the more positive notes of the event is that by establishing a safe zone within the region, there would be a result of aiding Turkey's overpopulation, in which residents will be able to return to their homeland. Alongside aiding the Syrian population, education, health, infrastructure, and religious facilities were established for the land to be livable once more. Before Syrian refugees were returned to their homeland, there was cooperation between Turkey and local councils in removing any remaining explosives. Once the area was safe and secure, employment was provided for an approximate of 10,000 individuals. Dams within the region was also restored, leading to the re-establishment of electricity flowing into the area. In a bite-sized summary, the Baykar organization has been at the forefront of providing humanitarian aid within the civilian populace by building up their arsenal and paving the way for a more modernized Turkey and aiding those within and outside the region.
Hepinizin emeğine, yüreğine sağlık. Sağ olun, var olun.